Dumelang. Reteng guy. Reteng. Dumelang. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm over the moon, and I would love to share with you something that has lived in my mind. It's actually a seed that was deposited in my spirit. I'll say in my spirit when I was still at school. So my short presentation, I hope it is short, is based on a certain title that I picked up when I was in school. I can't remember which grade. It wasn't grade then, it was a standard. Was it a standard? I can't remember what it was. Form. It was a form. Yes, I was. When I was in one of the forms, and for one reason or another, when I was requested to come and speak to you, I thought that would be the ideal theme to speak about. It's a proverb, coincidentally, after the pastor spoke from the book of Proverbs. But it is an African proverb. It says, so the title of my speech is, I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. Yeah. Now, this is one of a statement to me that has forever urged me to do a lot of self-introspection most of the time at any given stage of my life, or when I'm going through things, life issues. In terms of this, it was imprinted in my mind so much that I would literally see a person crying because they do not have certain things, or one thing that rings a bell into their minds and their hearts that gives them so much trouble that they will even cry. And then this person says, until I met a man who had no feet. But the question is, what went into the mind of this person when he came up to a person who had no feet? What did that realization bring into their mind, into their thinking, into their spirit, into their way of thought, and into how they reflect on things? And most of the time I ask myself, and perhaps I should ask you too, do you have shoes? You have shoes. Do you have feet? Yes. Because sometimes you will cry over something, but you will realize later on that there's somebody who's worse off than you. So in terms of my speech, the question is, what could be the references of shoes or feet in your life aspects? We need to reflect on a number or a lot of the life aspects, Physically, what is it that you feel like it's short for in terms of your expectation or your desire of your perfect image? What is it that you feel like this is not right, I need to do something about this? Or have you really come, in terms of this very same speech, can you take yourself further and be also the person, when you realize that instead of crying for the shoes, I actually do not have feet? Is it something that you have done, or that you do when you look at other people and you reflect at other people's lives, and you realize that they do not have feet? But have you ever asked yourself or introspected yourself and checked whether instead of shoes, perhaps you do not even have feet? Is it understandable? I may be looking at somebody thinking that this person hasn't got an eye, for instance. But for me, I don't even have a vision of my own personal life. I cannot go on but I can see this person. Okay? Now, remember that we are one body in an organization that is a person. Is it clear? That Tholwana Molemo is a person. Yesterday we reflected a lot on Tholwana Molemo. We're speaking about Tholwana Molemo and we went through some other areas and aspects and so on. And in what we were saying, we even realized that Tholwana Molemo hasn't got shoes. Okay? We could have even, some of us could have even seen that the organization hasn't got feet. Okay? Now, in reflection of an organization as a person, it's got all parts of the body. It has got a head, it's got vital organs, it's got limbs, and all those make up the body of an organization. If we talk about the head of the organization, there's governance and the leadership body, which is the head that thinks and establishes things for the organization. We've got the operations management, which would refer to as the vital organs, the heart, the kidneys, what else? The lungs, that directs the organization to be functional. And then we've got the limbs, which are the program implementers. Does it make it clear that the organization is actually a person with parts of the body that function at different levels for different purposes? There are vital organs that make sure that the organization is sustained. There are also directive services, like the head, the brain will direct the body to everything is directed by the brain. So there is that part, the head and the brain, that directs the governance and the leadership, they direct the organization. Is it clear? Does it come out clear in terms of the different levels in the organization? I submit, and my apology, I submit, and I should have given you an acknowledgement that that is my boss.
Lest you be fired.
Lest I be fired. You understand? Now, in terms of the systems of the body, which is called the organization, I've just explained that we've got the governance team, which is responsible for the quality management system and the oversight. Oversight is making sure that things are going, we are compliant as an organization. We do things, the right things, and we do them the right way. Okay? In terms of that, it is quality management system, which then reflects on the vision, the mission, objectives, values, and standards, operating procedures, which we talked about a lot yesterday. That is what the governance team is responsible for. In the operations, they carry the mandate of the determination of the governance team. They determine, we run, and we do what they have determined. Externally and internally. In terms of the governance team, they also they touch on the external factor and the internal factor. Now, we at the operations level, we also focus on compliance and quality service delivery. The implementing team work under the guidance of the operations team and serve the community with the directive on compliance and quality service delivery. We cannot compromise on quality service. And quality service is comprehensive, including the time element that you spend in service delivery. Now, all those things, I'm going to be talking about the organizational culture. That is the emblem, ke flaga, of the attributes of the organization, internal and external. The flag that reflects the persona of the organization. How I always say it, especially to the TG group, because I often meet with them. How why is I'm praising Kangle? Kapon everything that's ka kopa na ka tawa ka tsola ka jaifa ke tsotse strategy ka bokae sa anything a horrible ka baka bona motho go tlo ke manga boleile motho exactly Tholwana Molemo. Now everything, the culture of the organization, it's reflected through each and every one of us that is in the organization. But also the culture of the organization is embedded in the quality management system, in the ethics, in the value set up by the menu of the set up like a menu or the food that is on the plate. You understand what I mean? Sure. Quality management system, the values, the standard operating procedures are actually a menu that is set up for us. Because you are what you eat. If we eat from the table in terms of the quality management system, the values and everything about it, then the reflection that we will give is that of Tholwana Molemo. We will be representatives of the organization. Okay? And the presentation of the menu reflects from the members at all levels. Is it still okay? Or is it boring? Are you catching up with what I'm saying? Yes. The message that I'm driving? Yes. Okay. And it's actually what was laid out yesterday. It's just a wrap up now. Now, in terms of my theme, I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. As a person, Tholwana Molemo needs to constantly reflect on itself and check whether it's got shoes or whether it has got feet. And in essence also, as members of this body, we also need to reflect on ourselves and check whether we've got shoes or we still have feet. What now, in terms of it, we need to be so honest to ourselves. And the organization also needs to be so honest to itself. If it has to carry the mandate of the vision, the mission, the values, and what is embedded in the quality management system, there is no way that you can carry on in life without reflecting at yourself. Now we need to know where we are. Because in terms of the guidance of the government's leadership, they have mandated us with a strategic plan. And I'm going to share with you the strategic objectives as determined by the board. Okay? Number one, We have to extend the scope of service delivery by including educational and community development programs in 2024 to 2026. Now remember, if there's a message that comes from the board, it does not end up with the operations management only, but it even tapers to the implementing team. Now, are we ready, all of us, to extend the scope of services by including educational and community development programs? Yes. Are we ready? Yes. I'm pleased to hear that. Number 2, we need to expand service delivery to 3 provinces, namely the Northern Cape, Eastern Cape, Northwest, between 2025 and 2027. 2 years' time. The third objective, to apply skills development and training accreditation with quality councils for trades and occupations, QCTO 2025. What does that mean? We need to set up Tholwana Molemo as a skills development and training center, primarily to contribute towards the development of youth with skills and employment opportunities. Okay? We need to increase the volume of funding application with 2 major funding applications in each quarter, 2024 to 2029. There are some people that already work with the team that does proposals for funding. And they sacrifice their times. There are times when they don't even sleep. And they still have the obligation to carry on with their duties during the day. That is a reality. And perhaps that is something that you should think about when you do your work every day, that there is somebody who sacrificed their time, who sacrificed their pleasure, who sacrificed their family, who sacrificed everything to sit and to work on proposal writing. It is not a small thing, and it is not easy. It is time consuming, and it is body taxing. But that is one thing that we have to do. In terms of that also, we're going to be working on developing and implementing risk management, sustainability. And in terms of that, more critical is looking into our HR component in terms of a full-fledged HR component, and also into HR succession, HR strategic planning, HR retention plan. So there's a lot that can you see that we are listing all this because we looked at ourselves, the organization, the leadership of the organization looked and found out that we do not have shoes and we do not have feet. Why do I say that? With all the strategic plan, do you know that we are left with 5 months? Is it 5? 4? 4 months in the programs that we are implementing as we are all seated here. What assurance do we have that with the coming funding, that will all still be here? Now, in terms of the organization, remember we talked about the organization as a person, but who are the contributory elements, factors in the organization? If the organization is going to go on a strategic plan and has listed all those things, who are the key role players in terms of achieving all those plans that all those objectives that we've mentioned? It is all of us. Now for us to take the first step of the strategic plan, we need to reflect on the person, yourself as a person, within the bigger person called the organization. We need to review what it is that needs to be amended within my personal space as the CEO, or in you as whoever you are within the organization, as well as the whole organization. We need to reflect and we need to review. And we need to take a deliberate action on certain areas that will mold us to be conscious in taking the step of doing the right things the right way. We need to come to a point where we reflect on professionalism. We need to reflect on blending to be one person with the cultural attributes that are determined by the organizational culture. We need to relate to the PMS. We need to relate to the vision and the mission of the organization. We need to relate to the values of the organization. Not just relate, also review and see if there's anything that needs to be added in that. We need to blend the different characters to reflect one person, Tholwana. You cannot be in Tholwana and Molemo and be somebody else. Each and every person has to seriously reflect and review their mindset, their actions, their deliberations, their whatever it is. Make sure that you come to a point where you and Tholwana are inseparable. How will we do that? We'll look into problems and weaknesses. We'll identify those. And we will determine resolutions. And we will be focused on reaching the solution. Continuous physical checkup. If you are crying, you need to find out. Remember, we are still on, I cried because I had no shoes. Until I met a man who had no feet. What is the real cause of your cry? Is it authentic? Is it real? And also, what is the real problem? Is it the shoes? Or is it the feet? Because sometimes you may think it is the shoes, when in essence it is the feet. And we need to sort out each and every problem, coming up with the best option for each situation. Situations are never the same. In closing, I'm going to quote a certain scripture, Psalm 118, verse 24. A fool said in his heart, there is no God. And in essence also, a man who has no shoes will cry until he meets a man who has no feet. You may be crying now, and you may take up determinations to do certain things, but you are certain to meet up with a man who has no feet. Now what will you do when you meet that man who has no feet? And also you must remember that that man may actually be you. You are crying because you feel like you do not have shoes. But in essence, reality is that you do not have feet. And the reality is that that man who has feet should take serious reflection and introspection. Fine, I do not have shoes. But is it just shoes that I don't have, that I miss, that I don't have, that is a problem to me? Or are there other issues? Come on, tell me, someone getting to a garden, or shall you look at her? How shall you look at her? No, is it not? And that is the end. Thank you.